Once they're gone, they're gone. So be sure to get pre-orders in for the Hiya Toys Godzilla stuff at Big Bad Toy Store. The link in the description today. Okay. So listen. I am willing to give Hiya the benefit of the doubt. The first one was a mulligan, right? We can all say that. The first one, let's try it and see what happens. And then it kicked off thumbs up, right? But what was it? The King of the Monsters one came out and people could get it summer of last year. Okay. And I'm talking about the vanilla one, this one right here that I'm putting on the table. And you know, I'm putting the burning one up here right now. Okay. And then there's the translucent one that I reviewed just a little bit ago. And then I didn't get the Godzilla versus Kong repaint, which is a repaint of that. So there's two more. And then if you really wanted to, we can add in the original. So we've got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and how long? Chill. Chill. We get it. These sell. Please. But it is good.
Dragon Ball, horror, kaiju, and more. Steven's Toy Reviews.
Hello there, collectors. It's going to be Steven here, and welcome to another Godzilla Kong the New Empire review, where today we're going to be taking a look at the Hiya Toys. It's advertised as re-evolved Godzilla, but I think we can all agree that this is going to be pre-evolved, right? Because, you know, Hiya did not note that they did a misspelling, but it re-evolved? No, that doesn't make sense because Godzilla didn't revert back to this. Yeah, I think it's just a typo. But anyway, yes, we have yet another vanilla Doegoji Monsterverse Godzilla from Hiya Toys in the Exquisite Basic line. And, you know, there may be a lot of folks who are kind of, I don't know, tired of this by this point, right? Because how many times has Hiya released something like this, at least in the updated body that they have? This is going to be the third repaint, right? So is there anything new to bring to the table? Is there any reason to get this? Well, kind of, sort of, and I guess we can kind of address that as we go on. But I will say, even though this is going to be an old dog now, there are some new tricks. So I don't know, let's take a look to see maybe if this is going to be worth bothering to add into your collection. I think the short answer is going to be only if you don't happen to have one yet, or maybe you're a completionist. For this figure, what I'm going to say is, yes, once again, we do have the good old-fashioned, good accurate sculpt and all that fun stuff. I don't really need to go over that particular song and dance. We know that this figure in the sculpt department looks great, and interestingly enough, it doesn't really seem like there are a lot of details that are lost or smoothed over. There were a few folks in my Discord who maybe pointed out a few different sculpt changes in the head, or possibly just changes in the mold, like from maybe damage to the mold or degradation. But honestly, if there are really going to be any changes like that, it's going to be very, very minor. So up close and personal under macro photography, you're not really going to see it even that much unless you're really looking for it. In hand, even when I'm looking at it right now as I'm recording audio, I can't really notice it too much, even when I do have my 2019 version right next to it. So make of that what you will. Effectively, even though there may be some differences, honestly, it's not that big. Okay, now when it comes to the paint application though, we will do a side-by-side with the 2019 version. I will say that this definitely does look nicer in my opinion. Again, my opinion. I will say that the eyes look fantastic and is exactly what I would expect from the Monsterverse Godzilla. The eyes looking straight ahead, which I am so happy I can finally say I have a Monsterverse Godzilla that does that. Mwah. But I will note, it does look like he has some, like, you know, darkened eyes, like raccoon eyes going on, which is actually an interesting thing. An issue that I have, though, is that the way that the teeth are painted, it kind of looks like, the best way to describe it is kind of like buck teeth. They really stand out. I don't know, that's just the best way to describe it. As we continue on throughout the rest of Godzilla, what I can say is, if you recall from the translucent Atomic Breath Godzilla, there was this very subtle blue and gray that was used all throughout the body, and I do almost see that here. I don't know if it's because of the lighting situation that I have here in hand. Maybe when I go to edit the pictures so this way I can render the video and all that good stuff, I'll see something different. But in hand, that is absolutely what it looks like here. And it's not a bad thing whatsoever. It really helps to make the details pop. It very much so looks close to the on-screen model than it ever has before. We do also have that same brown that the 2019 version used for some washes that are found on the dorsal plates and even on the crevasses in the skin. The underside of Godzilla is also really worth mentioning here because when we get to the underside of the tail, that is where pretty much all of the paint applications that are found for this Godzilla come through and shine. It's like a conglomeration of it all, so you can see all the paint that was used here. It all just blends well. So in the sculpt department, pretty much it's exactly what you would expect. And when it comes to the paint, ooh, awesome. This just looks so much better. I'm very pleased with it. Now, you're probably wondering, how does this puppy move? And I am very happy to tell you that for better or worse, we're pretty much just looking at the same thing here as we would always expect from the MonsterVerse mold of Godzilla. But the problem is that coming fresh off of the translucent heat ray Godzilla, that had a somewhat softer plastic. And with that somewhat softer plastic, Godzilla had a much more user-friendly range of movement, right? Because if you do recall, you could basically take it out of the box and you can go ahead and you can move everything around. This Godzilla is almost a revert to standard fashion, and everything is rather stiff in terms of how the plastic feels, how the joint feels. And it's not exactly a bad thing because, you know, everything is holding up really nice and tight. But I will say that for some others, they have had some issues with things like stuck joints and even some parts glued. And even though mine, that's not the case here, I could imagine that some other folks maybe, you know, they may feel the same way. I'm going to validate them. But for articulation, I'm going to say that it's the same. So jaw opens and closes, you know, the tongue moves on a hinge. We have a ball jointed neck with the same system as usual. There you go. There's your range. You can twist and you can turn. And if you should, you know, want to, there you go. That's what the ball joint looks like. It's pretty cool. Oh, wait, you know what would be actually really cooler? Can we do this? Hey, stop motion people. All I care about is that you credit me, okay? Just you know, in your end credits, just say, idea was, or inspiration came from STR. Okay, so, shoulders, ball joints, they move around as they ever have. So you can twist them, you can spin them. Kind of hard to push past a certain point, but nevertheless. The elbows, whoa. It's pretty stanky if you ask me, but single hinge and they twist. The wrists are on ball joints. All good. For the ab crunch, the waist joint, just be mindful of the dorsal plates, but you can crank that, not like Soldier Boy, but you can crank it down about that far and twist and turn. Very much so reminds me of NECA. Okay. Ball jointed hips. Woo! The knees are basically going to be hinges, but there's a ball joint, and, yeah, twist and turn that. Ball jointed ankles. And then we do have a ball jointed tail all the way to the tip. So let's play a game. This will be a new fun game. I think I've played this a couple times. How far can it go? Said, how far can it go? Said, how far can it go? Oh, yeah. Oh, there we go. Okay. So, you know, pushed it, broke it. Did I? No, it's just a ball joint. Popped off. So, as you can see, this figure can take a little bit of abuse. But let's just go ahead and take a step further beyond. There we go. That was a nice solid pop, wasn't it? Yeah. So the articulation for Hiya's Godzilla here is pretty solid. Please don't do that at home. I am not a trained professional. But realistically speaking, for the price point, which is going to be $50 or so in the US, I mean, realistically, this is good. Realistically, this is a fun figure. Realistically, I lost count of how many times I said it. I just wanted to say it one more time. What I would have to say is maybe not exactly as realistic, though, is aside from, my own custom accessories that I just made here of the tail, at this point, I get it that this is basically going to be one of those situations where they keep making or repainting this mold, so this way they're able to sort of recoup the cost on some of the more novel things like the Skull Island Kong, the Skull Crawler, or so forth, and, keeping the price point at it is, and I don't know, maybe the cost comes down to like $15-20 a unit at the manufacturing point, and then when it gets shipped to retail, maybe it's like, I don't know, $30-35. I'm just pulling numbers out of thin air. Compared to something like Skullcrawler, which is going to be, $35, and then, retail gets it for $40. I get that. This is basically a complicated explanation for this is a moneymaker for folks. Okay, this is a moneymaker for Hiya. At this point, can we get maybe like buildings or something? Maybe we could get like helicopters that Godzilla was chomping at. I think that would be pretty cool. But, I guess it is what it is, right? Yeah. Okay. So if you do need buildings or effect parts or other accessories, I've got plenty of videos that you can check out. I think you'll have a good time. Now, a size comparison, just because this may be some folks' first Hiya Godzilla, so you can get an idea of how big he's going to be. And then we'll go on to a side-by-side comparison with the 2019 King of the Monsters, Godzilla from Hiya, so you can see exactly what I'm talking about, where basically this just kind of looks like a revised paint scheme of that. It actually looks really solid. Yeah, I think this one, for all intents and purposes, does look better, but I think that if I could take the teeth off of my 2019 and put it on here, I think that would be perfect. But as you can see, like I said, the brown wash on this one pretty much matches up with what Hiya delivered for their 2019. Like I made mention, I do not have the Godzilla vs. Kong repaint, since that's pretty much what it is, the renewal, because I wasn't feeling it. Sorry, that's all there is to it. So buy now, skip, or wait for a deal. Kind of like I said at the top, if you are invested in the Hiya stuff and you know what's going on, is this one really worth the purchase? Pretty much not, unless you are really feeling the paint apps, because it basically feels just kind of like all their other vanilla legendary verse, monster verse, whatever you want to call it, Godzillas. And I don't know, is it going to be worth $50 for what could arguably be for some just a slight paint upgrade? I don't know. I wouldn't say so. But what I will say is that these figures are very, very hot. Very much so. And when it comes to like mainland China, Hiya Toys Godzillas, they sell out. When it comes to the US, yes, they are on pre-order for a long period of time, but they do sell out as well. So when it comes to needing to keep the market saturated for Hiya Toys Exquisite Basic Godzilla products, this is a good deal for Hiya to keep these pumped out on the market so folks can keep getting them. This isn't going to be a situation where you can readily find these rotting on the shelves. This is going to be a situation where you blink 1 minute, it goes up for pre-order, you blink another minute, and then all you can find are going to be sold out listings. So if you for some reason missed out before, congratulations. This is probably going to be the best version of the vanilla Monsterverse Godzilla that you can get.